The rain fell softly against the tall windows of Blackwood Manor, echoing through the empty halls like a distant memory that refused to fade. Lord Edward Harrington stood alone in his study, a glass of untouched whiskey resting in his hand. His eyes, once full of warmth, now carried a quiet emptiness. Years had passed, but the pain remained the same. He had loved once, deeply, completely, and when he lost her, something inside him had died as well. From that day forward, Edward made a vow. He would never love again. Not because he couldn't, but because he refused to feel that kind of pain ever again. The world outside continued as always, balls, laughter, whispers of high society, but Edward remained distant, cold, untouchable, until the day she arrived. Her name was Clara Whitmore. She wasn't like the others. No extravagant dresses, no rehearsed smiles, no desperate attempts to impress. She came to the manor as a governess for his young niece, carrying nothing but a small suitcase and a quiet strength in her eyes. At first, Edward barely noticed her, and when he did, he kept his distance. But Clara, she noticed everything. She saw the silence behind his words, the loneliness behind his stern expression, the grief he tried so hard to hide. Days turned into weeks, and something unusual began to happen. The manor felt different, lighter, warmer. It started with small moments, a brief conversation in the hallway, a shared glance during dinner, the sound of her laughter drifting through the corridors, something Edward hadn't realized he had missed so much. He tried to ignore it, tried to remind himself of his promise. But love doesn't ask for permission. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and sorrow, Edward found Clara standing in the garden. "You should not be out here alone," he said, his voice firm but softer than usual. She turned, offering a gentle smile. "Neither should you, my lord." There was something in her voice, something that disarmed him completely. For the first time in years, Edward felt his walls begin to crack. "I made a promise," he admitted quietly, "never to love again." Clara stepped closer, her gaze steady. "And yet," she said softly, "here you are, still capable of feeling." Silence filled the space between them, not empty, but full of everything left unsaid. Edward looked at her, really looked at her, and realized something terrifying and beautiful. His heart was no longer his own. Love had found its way back, despite every effort to keep it out. And in that moment he understood. Some promises are not meant to be kept, because sometimes the greatest risk is also the only path back to life.